Do you mind introducing yourself to the
I'm
camera?
William S. Bill Stewart. Everybody knows me by Bill Stewart. And I lived here in Balboa, on Balboa Island since the end of 1994.
What did you do before you entered the service, sir?
I was in high school, and I wanted to go to college. I was very specific. I wanted to go to Parks Air College in East St. Louis, Illinois, I think it is. And my parents said they didn't have the money to send me, so I was looking for ways, doing jobs and things. But I heard about the GI Bill of Rights. If you join the service for 3 years, you get a free college education. But you had to join by December 31, which was the official end of World War II. And so I still had a half year of school to finish. I was a winter class, in winter 47. And I was short an English credit of graduating. But I thought, well, the education is it. I can get the English later.
In September of 1940, the Japanese Empire was expanding rapidly. After the Japanese army forcibly took French Indochina and Saigon, President Roosevelt swung into action by freezing all Japanese assets in America. Britain and the Dutch East Indies followed suit. The result, Japan lost access to 3/4 of its overseas trade and 88% of its imported oil. Japan's oil reserves were only sufficient to last 3 years, and only half that time if it went to war and consumed fuel at a more frenzied pace. If Japan could gain control of Southeast Asia, including Malaya, it could also control the region's rubber and tin production, a serious blow to the West, which imported such materials from the East. Japan was now faced with a dilemma: back off its occupation of Southeast Asia and hope the oil embargo would be eased, or potentially start a war with the West. On December 7th, 1941, the Empire of Japan declared war on the United States of America, involving the United States in the Second World War as we know it today. In September of 1946, William S. Stewart joined the Army Air Corps before the official end date of World War II.
So what were the requirements for going to service? Was there like
At my age, I had to have parents' permission. And if you're under 18, you have to have parents' permission.
But you can still go.
Oh yeah, you can go. Yeah, if they want you, they'll take you, and they wanted anybody at the time. There was no war, no fighting. The fighting had ended in 45, and this was the end of 46. But technically, they didn't declare an end of the war until December 31, 46. So that makes me a World War II vet, and I just in December got my medals.
Oh, nice! Congratulations!
A little late.
Wow, those are really
This is
cool.
the World War II medal. No, this is the World War II medal. This is the medal for serving during the Korean conflict. Mm-hmm. And this is what they call the ruptured duck. Everybody who gets an honorable discharge, at that time anyway, gets one of these. I haven't seen one in a long time. I forgot all about them.
What did your basic training consist of, and like what fort were you sent to if you were sent to a fort or anything?
Well, originally I was sent up north to Camp Beale in California. It's up above San Francisco, up in wine country actually. Mm-hmm. And that's where I joined in LA. They put me on a train in Santa Ana, sent me up to overnight train to Camp Beale. Mm-hmm. That's where they give you the haircut.
Many boys were deployed in the Army during World War II. They left their homes and went through training. At first, the newcomers exited the bus and lined up in the barracks to eat breakfast. They were then taken of most of their belongings and were given new clothes and shoes. They went to boot camps consisting of 10 to 20 mile hikes, spending shivering nights in tents, and learning new survival techniques.
And you'll see in some of my pictures, when I got in the chair, I said, I guess you're going to take it all off. He says, whatever you want, as long as the space below your hat is short, you can have whatever you want on the top. Well, this was a big surprise to everybody. I was the first one to find out. And so everybody left the hair on top and just kind of shaved the bottom. And then we were there a few days. We got our first uniforms there. And then they put us on a train to send us to basic training in San Antonio. But they put us on a rickety old Army troop train pulled by a steam engine, and went down to LA and then up through Riverside and out through the deserts, and about halfway through the desert in New Mexico, the engine broke down. And so we're out there with about 6 cars and full of guys. We're eating franks and beans. We're delayed. We're supposed to be in the town by now, and that. So they said, well, we've got beans and paper plates, but we don't have any utensils. We're throwing away. Used up all the plastic spoons. So they just cut up the plates into little triangles, and we use the little paper plate piece as a spoon to eat the beans. And waited and wandered around out there in the desert until they sent a big diesel locomotive out for us. And they hooked that thing on and took us 80 miles an hour into Texas. And those old rickety train cars, we had to sit down and hang on for dear life. They were just rattling all over the place. And so anyway, we got to Texas, and then I went through the regular basic training. I don't remember now how long it was. Well, I do too. I've got a schedule here of everything I did. 6 weeks in boot camp.
And
So
how was
the
the
basic
training?
training. How was it?
How was the first beginning of the training?
Well, a lot of exercise, a lot of marching, a lot of barking at you, and just like you see in the movies.
Full Metal Jacket.
Nasty sergeants, just trying to teach you that you're a slave now, and you'll obey orders or else. A lot of cleaning up the barracks with, if you got in trouble, you did it with a toothbrush. You cleaned the latrine with a toothbrush. And they taught you all the bad stuff about the military. And lots of exercise. I kind of got a crook in my back, so I got out of a lot of the exercises.
Oh, okay.
And, in fact, I didn't mention at Camp Beale, I was on KP duty, and I was cleaning the meat slicer, and I went down and hit my knuckle on the blade of that meat slicer.
Oh.
And blood gushing all over, so I didn't have any more KP.
Yeah.
So that was it. Then I took 24 days of leave, and then they sent me up to Hamilton Field, across the Golden Gate from San Francisco.
Okay.
And that's where they stage you for overseas.
Okay.
And there I got my first stripe as a PFC.
Okay.
And $5 more pay per month.
What was your highest rank that you achieved in your
In
career?
this 3-year thing, sergeant,
Okay.
3-stripe sergeant. And when I was recalled during the Korean conflict, I made staff sergeant.
Oh.
And the interesting thing about that is when you make staff sergeant, you're entitled to have your car shipped to you.
Oh, there you go.
And I was in Casablanca on that one, and they shipped my car to me in Casablanca. And that was really nice.
Just on a quick question, was it like a lot different? Is the world a lot different these days than it was back then when you were
Yeah, how was the social life, like the food, the technology?
Well, let's see. I don't know, it's not a lot different. I mean, the cars are nicer now, you know, and you can't work on your own car anymore.
Yeah,
like you
that's
could in
too
the old
bad.
days. And, you know, you could set your own points and clean your spark plugs and tune it up. But forget that now.
It's all
Without-
computerized
Without a
now.
computer, yeah. So that's what I, of course, learned at auto mechanic school. I didn't know anything about running cars. I was 17 years old. I drove my parents' car every time I could, but I never had to work on it.
Yeah.
And so it was fun learning auto mechanics. And then when they sent me overseas, it was as an auto mechanic.
Okay.
And but they didn't know where I was going to end up. And they put us on a troop ship in San Francisco. And with the original destination of Manila, Philippines. And so what's interesting about the troop ship is that they put us on during the day. We all went to bed. We woke up in the morning with the ship rocking like this.
Was it really hard to readjust to civilian life when you came back from the
No.
service? Or?
No, well, especially not because my last few months were at McCord Field in Washington State. And that was, and I bought a car when I got home, bought a car from my cousin, a Ford, and drove it up to Washington. It was in awful shape. I had to stop I stopped in Bakersfield and changed the water pumps, and stopped again in Oregon and changed the water pumps. And drove it around up there. But I got up there I was the only radar guy on the, but by then I've skipped way over to where I became a radar mechanic.
The tech school radar had a huge impact on World War II. It had the ability to send out radio waves and then detect reflections from distant objects. One of the most common uses of the radar was to help prevent enemy aircraft from reaching a nation's city. Other uses included aiming for anti-aircraft guns, navigating ships at night to locate enemy ships, and to find enemy artillery along with buried mines.
So, there's 3 years where we just jumped over. But up there, the adjustment was, I got home, bought the car, drove up there. I worked there, went dancing on the weekends, got a girlfriend. I had a car, so, I went to dances in Tacoma and down in Olympia, Washington, and just did everything that you guys do.
Mr. Stewart was always rewarded for Best Dressed Soldier every Friday. Because of this, he got a 3-day pass from his commanding officer, allowing him to have more time outside of the barracks.
Before you went to the service, how were your parents' reaction to your decision?
I think they thought it was a smart move, because I wasn't going to get to go to college otherwise. And they were a little concerned about quitting school to do it, high school.
But were they concerned if you would get hurt? Or?
Well, there was no war going on at the time, but who knew, when it was going to come, or if it was going to come.
The Russians were a big problem back then, right?
Well, yeah. Patton was sorry he didn't take over Russia too. It was his big mistake was not going all the way. But so they were always a worry, more so during the Korean conflict.
Mr. Stewart also served in the Korean conflict. On June 25, 1950, the Korean War began when some 75,000 soldiers from North Korea's People's Army poured across the 38th parallel, the boundary between North and South Korea. This invasion was the first military action of the Cold War. By July, American troops had entered the war on South Koreans' behalf. As far as American officials were concerned, it was a fight against the forces of international communism itself.
So how wartime experiences affected your life after you came back?
Well, it gave me a college education,
But how generally did it affect your life and your viewpoint
Well,
of life?
I grew up in Japan.
Oh, okay.
And,
Did you like it there?
I had 3 different girlfriends there, one at a time, and was in tech school. Had it made. We were off every Wednesday afternoon, every weekend, and I got to know the Japanese people very well. And then went back to Guam. On Guam, there were no girls. The only girls were working in the USO. Yeah. See the world. Join the Army and see the world. Or Navy. The Navy, as I always said, join the Navy and see the world. But you do get to a lot of places in the Navy. The Air Force, likewise. But you want to be sure that they're going to send you someplace and teach you something that you want to do. So there's just a lot of fun, It's just, there's a lot of hard work, there's a lot of waiting, there's a lot of KP and a lot of dirty work occasionally, but it doesn't last long. And you get your days off, you get your nights off, and your weekends off, and that's where you go out and have the fun. But main thing, find an older guy that knows the ropes, and stick with him, and he shows you how to get through the bad stuff.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Pleasure.